Hi, I'm Eugene Sakai, CEO of S Squared in San Jose, California. We are a firm that does all of architecture, interior, and landscape design for residential clients in the Bay Area. I became an architect in a bit of a roundabout way. I grew up in the Bay Area as the son of a residential gardener and a walnut farmer, and so it was a bit far from my mind growing up that I would become an architect, but when I got into college, with the original aspiration to be a doctor, I realized pretty quickly that that wasn't for me, and sort of transitioned my way through a few different majors, landed in something called urban studies at Stanford, and that then basically sort of put me on the path to becoming an architect through a master's degree at UC Berkeley. One of the larger demographic trends that we've seen aligns a lot with what's going on in California with regard to a push for more affordability and housing. And so at the government level, we're seeing a lot of policies being shaped around providing more density, more infill development, more units per lot. And that actually has aligned very nicely with some of the desires of our clients. And by that I mean, as our clients have reached a certain level in their own lives where they can not only support themselves, but potentially also their parents and maybe even their adult children, these government policies have begun to sort of converge with their own desire to live in a multi-generational way. And so a lot of the homes that we do naturally reflect both those government policies as well as the homeowners' desires to live amongst extended family members. And so some of the homes that we do are very large, but they are often accommodating two, sometimes even three, sometimes even four generations of family members under one roof. And so there's interesting challenges to be had with regard to how do you provide common area and gathering area for different generations, but also enough privacy and separation for them to coexist peacefully. Being able to have that talent in-house in those three different disciplines, I think has been perhaps one of the differences in our firm compared to others at our size, because we're not a very large firm. There's only 13 or 14 of us at this point, but being so small allows us to work very cohesively as one team, as opposed to a larger organization where you might have potentially more division between groups. We really like to collaborate as one team under one roof. And I think that brings benefit to both our design quality and to some extent the efficiency by which we can produce those designs for our clients. It definitely provides a bit more of a holistic approach where we're not having to marry the creative impulse or wishes of three different firms, which we used to experience ourselves in the past, as in the early days when we were architecture only. So I think being able to combine the best of the small firm experience with perhaps the diversity of skill set that you might see in only a larger firm has been great for both us and our clients. We started really as an architecture firm. I think most things when it comes to the built environment, when it comes to design, start with the architect, and so we were no different. The interior design came on, I guess probably about 20 years into the life of the firm, maybe 15, about maybe 10 years ago. And the landscape is the most recent, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. The size of the teams kind of reflects their longevity. So the architecture team is about twice as large as the interior team, and the interior team is about twice as large as the landscape team. I think over time, we'll probably end up balancing those out. I think all those teams are important and essential to the success of a development. I think the most challenging thing has been, even though we are all under one roof, the integration of the designs is still a little bit challenging. Everyone has different training, different perspectives, and then there's also overlaps between the different disciplines. There's no real hard line between where architecture stops and interior architecture begins. And similarly with landscape, there's no hard line between, say, an outdoor space that might feel architectural and then a landscape space that also feels architectural. And so it's in those gray areas, I think, where really the magic happens between the teams and where the true collaboration takes place. But really, it's not just in those areas. We try to kind of involve each of the three teams holistically in the projects from day one. But that's challenging. It's much more challenging than just having, say, one designer working at one time, because you put three designers together on a project and everyone has slightly different opinions and perspectives and biases. And so there's a lot of sorting out that needs to happen. I think it's both. I think ultimately the most sustainable building is the one that can endure in and of itself architecturally, and then adapt itself to technology as the technology evolves. Technology, by definition, is always going to be changing, evolving, improving at a faster pace than the architecture of a building. And so I think it becomes incumbent upon the architect to design the building in such a way that it can adapt itself to the technologies as they evolve. And it really starts with designing a structure that will sit efficiently on the land, use the land in a very smart and non-impactful way as possible, but then also potentially be adaptable to improvements in the technology of how occupants interact with the buildings. So that can range from anything, including the sort of the environmental systems of a building, i.e. kind of the heating and cooling and thermal comfort, to sort of the electronics and kind of the intelligence of the building. Because by definition, what is trendy or what is timely now, within 15 to 20 years is going to be dated and surpassed by whatever else is out there. People who go into a creative profession are not necessarily the most extroverted people. People who want to create artistic spaces or to create art are not necessarily the most social people. And I think that holds true for a lot of our team members, that not many of them, if any of them, went into design, be it architecture, landscape, or interiors, because they're gregarious. Even myself, even my partners, who are probably have been forced to be the most social and kind of I guess interactive people in the firm, are all introverts by nature. And for a younger generation, they're even more so. Maybe putting yourself outside of your comfort zone and breaking out of your introverted nature to really establish those human connections, I think, that are going to become increasingly important, not just in art, but really any profession. How can designers, builders continue to provide value in a world where where everything becomes more increasingly technology driven? I think it's extending our service further into our clients' lives and continuing to help them beyond just the design exchange of ideas and the construction of that building. And so we're starting to think deeply about how to help our clients beyond move-in day, possibly with maintenance of the work that we've done, landscape maintenance, building maintenance, adapting the buildings to the changes in our clients' lives, helping them basically throw life-changing, commemorate life-changing events such as parties, graduation parties, weddings, births, possibly even deaths, in their homes, and tailoring, helping plan those events for them, helping host those events, and kind of tailor the structures that we've created for those. Going back to my father, and actually even his father before him, we always had this notion of service to country. Many of my older relatives also served our country, both in wartime and in peacetime, in the military. And so as an established architect, actually, I tried to sort of follow in their footsteps at around, gosh, I think it was around 30 or 31. I enlisted, I should say, in the Army, and went through boot camp with the intent of taking a break from my career and basically becoming a soldier for the U.S. Army. I went into it with full intention of doing so, but unfortunately my desire was derailed by some injuries that I got from the experience, and so I basically decided that was my body telling me that I was too old to kind of go through something that most would do at an age much younger. So I would say that Army experience is probably the one outlier in my otherwise pretty normal life.